Leia had always carried a need to come out on top, no matter how small the dispute. Every argument had to end with her final word, sharp enough to prove she was right. That evening, though, frustration outweighed reason. Her voice grew sharper, her pace quicker, until one cutting remark slipped out before she could stop it. "You bicker too much to be a man. No wonder you fall short where it matters most." The words fell like a stone into still water. The air didn't erupt, it collapsed inward, heavy and suffocating. Marcus didn't lash out, didn't hurl an insult back. He froze. His jaw clenched, his fist curled almost imperceptibly, and his eyes dimmed with something far heavier than rage. It wasn't fury that rooted him to the spot. It was humiliation, an old wound torn open wider than she realized existed. Without a word, he turned and left the room. Leia stayed behind in the thick silence, half expecting him to storm back like he always did, ready to spar again. But he didn't return. The quiet grew jagged, sharper than any insult. That night, his side of their bed remained cold and untouched. She told herself he'd slip in after she fell asleep, that tomorrow morning would reset them back into their rhythm. But dawn revealed the truth. The sheets on his side were still smooth, and unease tightened inside her chest. She searched the house until she found him. He sat stiffly on the edge of the spare bed, staring at nothing. His posture wasn't sulking, wasn't simmering, it was vacant. From the doorway, she called his name. He didn't answer. She asked if he was still upset, if he would come back to their room, if he was ready to move past it. His eyes flickered toward her only briefly. When he finally spoke, his tone was soft, almost weightless, but heavier than anger itself. Days blurred into each other, but his silence remained. When she entered a room, he left it. When she tried to speak, he said nothing. When she reached for his hand, he stiffened and pulled away. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It felt like something unraveling for good. Desperate, Leia tried everything. She cooked his favorite meals, but he ate them like they were ash. She left handwritten notes, tiny apologies folded into his routines, but he ignored them. She tried to make him laugh, reminisced about happier times, brushed against him like she used to, but nothing pierced his distance. And then, the realization struck. She had always believed fights, no matter how cruel, meant there was still life between them. Anger, after all, was proof that they still cared. But this emptiness was different. This was the sound of something already shattered. She hadn't understood how deep her words had cut. Marcus carried old scars long before she ever knew him. In high school, he'd been mocked relentlessly, cruel whispers dogging his steps. A single locker room comment had turned into an endless rumor that gnawed at him daily. He could still recall the look on the girl he loved when she heard it, cold, detached, as if he'd ceased to matter. That moment followed him for years. Later, in adulthood, the wound deepened when his partner betrayed him. He had walked in to find her with someone else. When he demanded answers, she hadn't pleaded, hadn't cried. She had simply shrugged and said words that hollowed him out. "You're not enough for me." Since then, Marcus had learned to hide behind walls, to carry pain in silence. And then Leia came along. With her, he felt whole again, safe enough to believe the past had loosened its grip. Until that night, her cruel sentence dragged him straight back to every humiliation, every betrayal. Only this time, the blow came from the woman he trusted most. For the first time since they married, Marcus wondered if he could ever see her the same way again. Leia clung to the belief that time could heal it. But as the days passed, Marcus withdrew further. One evening, she walked into the spare room determined to bridge the gap. He wasn't there. The sound of the shower filled the silence instead. On the bed, his phone screen glowed. She had never snooped before, but this time, her eyes caught the words that froze her. Subject: initiating divorce proceedings. Her breath caught. Divorce. She told herself it had to be a mistake, but deep down she knew. When Marcus stepped out of the shower, she asked, her voice trembling, "Are you really ending our marriage over one fight?" For the first time in weeks, his eyes locked with hers. There was no rage, no sorrow, just emptiness. His voice was steady. You think this is only about that night. And then she understood. It wasn't only her insult. It was his past, his scars, the silence they had ignored for too long. That night had only been the breaking point. Still, she threw herself into trying. She apologized in every way she knew, from words to gestures, clinging to hope. He responded with hollow sentences, his silence speaking louder than anything. She didn't need him to say he no longer wanted this. His absence was already the answer. She had once believed regret could be undone, that love could patch over mistakes. But some wounds cut too deep. One night, she walked in and saw him packing. A suitcase lay open, clothes neatly folded. Panic surged. Are you really leaving? She whispered. Marcus paused, hands resting on the suitcase. He didn't meet her eyes right away. Finally, he exhaled and turned to face her. His voice was calm, but the truth in it hit harder than anger. I don't know if I can get past this. The words pierced her. Tears blurred her vision as her pride broke apart. I love you, she whispered, voice cracking. I made a mistake. I'd take it back if I could. Just tell me what to do. For the first time in weeks, something flickered in his expression. Not emptiness, but conflict. He hesitated, then finally murmured, You can't unsay what you said. And I can't unhear it. Her heart sank. But then he added softly, Maybe I'm not ready to leave. Not yet. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a promise. But it was something. That night, Marcus stayed. The distance lingered, the scars remained, and the road to healing stretched long ahead. Leia finally understood. Love wasn't about winning. It was about surviving the wounds left behind. Whether theirs could survive, only time would tell.